Every time I see the Honda logo, I wonder who designed it. A bird maybe? What is their fascination with wings? So I gathered all the top motorcycle manufacturers' logos, except MV Agusta, because even I can't make that one worse. And I'm going to redesign every last one of them, send my favorites to the companies, and see if any brand is willing to buy my logo. By the way, did you guys know that they let anyone download Photoshop? Not just people with actual design talent. As long as you have your mom's credit card, you're good to go. Let's start with KTM. I mean, it's a good logo to begin with, but redesigning logos is all about encompassing what a brand represents. And to me at least, KTM represents blindingly bright orange paint and making life increasingly more difficult for Japanese manufacturers year after year. Who does that remind you of? That's right, Apple. One of the biggest and most influential companies in the world. They're valued at around $3 trillion. So how could you go wrong trying to emulate their logo? KTM couldn't possibly turn this down. It's easy to digest, it's recognizable, and it perfectly embodies their core values. Orange. And if they're lucky, somebody accidentally buys a brand new Super Duke because they thought they were in the Apple Store. Next up, Aprilia. Now, I know what you're thinking. I should have just asked AI to do this task for me. Sure, it could have done it better, but I didn't want to be lazy. So I dedicated almost 30 minutes of my life to redesigning all these logos. I'm aware that this logo looks very complicated, but I assure you it's actually very simple. You see, it's a bunch of numbers in Aprilia's regular red rectangle, and this number is a telephone number for Aprilia's very own international roadside assistance. Because if you ride an Aprilia, chances are you will break down at some point, and then you'll be very happy that this is the logo. Now, if you know me, you know I'm very fond of Yamahas. In fact, there's two sitting right over here, and their logo is quite close to perfection already. You might be aware that Yamaha don't just make motorcycles. They actually also make musical instruments and audio equipment. I guess they're just in the business of making things sound good. Think of how good an R1 sounds and how good a drum kit or a grand piano can sound. But you might not know that their logo has more in common with the musical instrument side of things than the motorcycle side of things. If you look a bit closer at their logo, you'll notice those three prongy things crossing each other in the middle. And did you know that those are tuning forks? That's what you would use to tune a piano. I say it like I know how to do it, but I really don't. So my first thought was tuning. You tune a motorcycle with a dyno, so what if we put three dynos intersecting each other? But that would just be messy. So I went with the fork approach and replaced these tuning forks with Öhlins forks. Yes, I am aware that I made it worse, but they're still welcome to buy it for their motorcycle division, and I'll only charge them $69 million, or their closest offer, because Photoshop wasn't free, you know. Triumph already has a good logo. Not this one's terrible, but this one I like. Obviously, it would have to be something quintessentially British if you were to change it, like the Queen or T, or how about Tower Bridge? But instead of the normal boring bridge, we have the drawbridge open and a Triumph trident jumping the gap to add some action. And then nothing is complete in Britain without rain, so I added a rain effect in front of everything. Kawasaki has confused me in recent years. When they launched the H2 a few years back, it came with its own symbol or logo. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about. But in the last few years, they've been adopting that logo more and more and using their giant K less and less. But that's the H2's logo, so we should make them a new one. I had to think long and hard about what Kawasaki reminds me of, because their MotoGP team isn't very memorable, because they don't have one. Much like their adventure bike, their closest example is missing the adventure part. But do you know what Kawasaki's prized possession really is? It's Johnny Ray, 6-time World Superbike champion, and he won them back to back to back. And 107 race wins. but those he didn't win back to back. It just felt like he did. And all of this success was aboard a Kawasaki ZX-10. So I made this. I think it perfectly resembles everything Kawasaki has achieved in the last decade. Wait, what? He's leaving Kawasaki to go to Yamaha next year? I guess they're not gonna want my new logo. And I have to sell my Yamahas. These days, it's politically correct to acknowledge the Chinese brands too, because more and more people are buying them, like CF Moto. But this one is easy. You might recognize this symbol from the backside of just about everything you own, including my iPhone. It might be designed in California, but that's definitely not where it was made. What? They assemble bikes for KTM now, and they have a partnership with Yamaha. First the Johnny Ray thing and now this. Ducati was a tricky one. I'm not going to lie, it's not my best work and I'm not proud of it. But Ducati is often taken too seriously, so I thought I could develop a logo that helps to break the stigma. Do I even need to explain it? Ducati. I don't think so. I also think it might take away from the elegant feel that Ducati are trying to achieve, but I'm willing to let them try if they want to. Everybody associates the Harley-Davidson logo with big, tough bikers, but I wanted to make something that felt more inclusive to everyone and didn't scare away the newer riders. I happened to fall over this very beautiful flag. It looks a bit like a rainbow, lots of colors. So I put that over the original Harley logo, and to me it just feels more approachable. Let me know what you think. Continuing our streak of political correctness, we also have to acknowledge the electric motorcycle brand Zero. Back to the Honda Wing. We have to admit that the Honda Wing logo found on their motorcycles is 1,000 times better than whatever this is that you find on their cars. But to me, the wing implies that they can fly. They're fast, agile. But is Honda still fast? They used to actually stick to this theme. I mean, we had the gold wing, the black bird, which I assume had wings. But in recent years, their Fireblade is more synonymous with false neutrals than with speed. Remember how Guy Martin broke his leg on a Fireblade? He was going into a corner and went for a downshift, but instead got stuck between two gears. This is what is known as a false neutral. So instead of getting a lower gear and the extra engine braking you were expecting, you're left with zero resistance from the motor and end up flying off the circuit. So maybe their new logo should be a gearbox, but without the gears, so just a box. I've never liked BMW's logo. However, they supposedly redesigned it a few years ago, but they still seem to put the old one on everything, which confuses me. Like all good designers, I took inspiration from the Autobahn sign, meaning it's an unrestricted zone. There's no speed limits, because that is every biker's dream. And obviously out of respect to Germany, which I thought was a good sign. Pun intended. But we'll change the stripes to the BMW Motorsport colors. I bet if this was on all BMWs, they would use their turn signals more. It drops the arrogance for elegance. Suzuki's logo always reminds me of that S that every kid learns to draw in school. It's just line, 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 line. Join these two together and these two, add a point to each end, and voila. That is Suzuki's logo. Okay, not quite, but close enough. I'm not sure if it's brilliant because it's so simple or just lazy. Speaking of lazy, we're gonna have to just use the Hayabusa logo instead because my Photoshop free trial just ran out. It's expensive, give me a break. But anyway, you'll be surprised to learn that no manufacturers have gotten back to me about using my logo. So let me know which is your favorite, let me know which manufacturers I missed like MV Agusta, and I'll see you on the next ride.